Welcome back to another episode of the Silly Little Girls Club, and my guest today is Jeany Cronk, the co-founder of Maison Mirabeau, which is the most incredible rosé wine, if you didn't already know. And Jeany is literally living my dream, and I'm sure most of our dreams, of packing up London life, moving to France, and becoming a winemaker. I mean, who doesn't want to know how to do that? Like, what on earth? What an adventure! And the conversation with Jeany is so lovely. I'm so excited for you to listen. So maybe grab a glass of rosé and let's get into it. Welcome to the Silly Little Girls Club. I'm very excited to have you on. I feel like when my friend Carrie was like, "Oh, I've got a really wonderful guest for you," and then she told me, I was like, "Oh, I feel like you're literally living mine and most people's dream of, like, packing up the London life, shipping off to France, and making wine." Like how and why did that happen and come about? Was that, what was the thought pattern behind like doing it?
Oh my gosh. It wasn't quite all as, well planned as it looks from the outside. So we left 15 years, it's 15 years this year. So it's kind of that, which is also in itself completely crazy that 15 years have gone. And I left with, my kids. Well, my husband was really the sort of, I want to say, the driving force because I just had my third child. So I wasn't exactly in a sort of nomadic way of life. But he sort of, things happened in his career. In fact, bizarrely, he actually got quite a big promotion. But, we're sort of, I get a feeling we always sort of zag on other people's eggs somehow. So he got a promotion and that prompted him to quit his job.
Oh,
So
how funny.
it is slightly, it's slightly odd. But anyway, I was really proud of him. I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be great. We're gonna have more money." And he's like, "No, because I'm not gonna take the job. I've told them I'm gonna quit, and we're gonna move to France," which is something we had obviously talked. Yeah, but yeah, then sort of when it came at a sort of, I want to say, an unexpected moment for me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a big difference between talking about something and then actually packing and doing it. So,
Yeah.
especially when you've, like you say, just had your third child, and it's like, okay, now, I'm a big believer in this. There's never the right time. There's just always a time where you have to do it. And so, yeah, when you when he came home and said that, were you just like, okay, we're doing it?
Yeah, I'm not sure my response was exactly the same as for me. What the actual?
Yeah.
But in any case, it's true there is never a good
Mm.
time. So I can totally attest to that. And I may well have been a person who would have gone, "Oh, let's just wait until it's a little bit more perfect." And actually, it's quite a funny story because we had a mate helped us sort of, develop this idea. And basically, they came over and we had one of those very boozy nights
Mhm.
that just went on and on. And then he said, "Oh, you guys are always talking about moving to France, and then you never do it, and it's been sort of years now." And then we sort of wrote down. We had this blackboard.
Yeah.
This is all pre kind of any smartphones or anything
Yeah.
like that. So we wrote on the backboard. I hadn't even had my third child, so we wrote like 20 so and so have sex,
Yeah.
and 1 year later birth baby, and then sort of shortly after moved to France, and it didn't quite work like that, but
Mhm.
almost. So
Yeah.
Stephen then took a picture of that blackboard, and actually no, Cameron took a picture of it and sent it to us
Yeah.
every few months that we hadn't yet left. So in the end, I think Steve was like, "Okay, I think I wrote it down in a
Yeah.
drunken state, so we're actually gonna go." So we did. I mean, but literally we left like, just sort of, packed our stuff
Yeah.
up. We knew kind of where we were gonna go, but it was all very chaotic. Then we were homeless, in inverted commas, for a whole summer, just staying with friends and
Wow.
schlepping all our gear around. And you don't really want to know, to be honest,
Oh
how it
my
all
god.
got started.
Was the plan always to go and to, like, start making wine then? Was that was the goal?
That was the goal. Yeah, I wanted to live in Provence
Mhm.
and Stephen wanted to make wine. So
Okay.
we kind of, settled on which in retrospect looks like the genius idea. And of course it was a genius idea because it was mine. But yeah, so it was, it's Provence is really, really famous for rosé,
Mhm.
for its really great quality rosé as
Mhm.
well. But for a wine person, 15 years ago, it wasn't the obvious choice, let's put it
Okay.
this way.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's kind of just like happening all at the right time then that was the place to go. And
Yeah.
then, oh my God, was your background in like wine or anything like this? Or is this like something like, where it's just completely like, this is the pipe dream and we're going to make it happen?
And Stephen had a background in wine, and,
Okay.
and I had a background in drinking a lot of it. But,
Yeah, consumer testing.
but yeah, and
Yeah.
I feel, it's ironic because it is something that I think has been super valuable to the brand that
Sure.
I wasn't a wino
Yeah.
because they do, and I totally understand why now because I'm in it now.
Mm-hmm.
So I constantly have to check myself and go, okay, do not, go into this kind of, into this total wine universe because nobody understands it.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons, why people find wine difficult
Mm-hmm.
is because people get completely waylaid and want to talk about it in such detail and talk about all the technical issues in such detail. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a super technical product,
Yeah,
right?
for
It's a
sure.
live product.
Mm-hmm.
So we have like things going wrong all the
Yeah.
time. But the end consumer doesn't necessarily want to know all the details.
Yeah.
And as a wine person, you always have to sort of, pull yourself on
Yeah.
the, whatever. I feel like the sort of bridle I have in my mouth to say, do not go on or
Yeah.
too deep or too complex. And I felt I brought that to the brand to
Yeah.
sort of say, okay, I'm just a girl
Mm-hmm.
and
That
I want
likes
to drink this
rosé.
wine. And why would
Yeah.
I?
But I think that's smart. That's like, because sometimes it becomes too poncy then, it becomes unobtainable and it goes from being aspirational to being like almost like off-putting in a way because you're like, oh, this is too complicated for me. I don't understand it. I'm just going to get the one that looks nice or the one I know tastes nice. And I think that's the smart thing, isn't it? Having a wine that does deliver in those technicalities, but then it's got that experience for the consumer that's like, this is a beautiful bottle, this is a beautiful color, it's a beautiful taste. And I think, yeah, that's when you don't get into it too deep and you can make that perfect product.
Yeah, I think I mean, you totally understand it because a lot of what you do is very technical.
Mhm.
So, yeah, but somebody who goes, I want this and this, hair color,
Yeah.
he probably also wouldn't go, oh, let me explain to you.
Oh,
We'll use a 5%
yeah.
hydroxy, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
and the person sort of eyes glaze over and, you just want to say, you're going to have the sexiest haircut
Exactly.
ever.
Yeah,
And
you're
then the
gonna
people go,
smash it.
yeah,
Yeah. No, that's
game on.
yeah. And it's so relatable across industries, isn't it? Because I think anybody can get so tunnel visioned with something, and rather than seeing like that end user experience, and I think yeah, it seems to translate. So, I mean, that's kudos to you guys. So, I mean, let's go back then to when you've landed in Provence, you're sofa surfing with tweakins. How do you then start building that process of finding, this is where we're going to settle and then this is where we're going to start manufacturing wine? Because you've done it in a short amount of time, really.
Yeah. Well, listen, it was very, I would say organic, which is, just lots of trial and error and getting to know people. And I sort of really lent into the local community. So that was my sort of, in fact, my job.
Yeah.
But I loved doing it because I really wanted to learn proper French and I wanted to not have an expat experience. So
Yeah.
for me, that was really, really crucial. And my kids by then had been thrown into a French school to their total dismay.
Hmm.
So, we had to, and we're in the Upper Var, which is like, in the middle of nowhere. So we didn't have any other foreign kids
Yeah.
in the class. Teachers didn't speak English. So it was kind of sink or swim kind of moment. So, and same, I had to help them with homework. So I really had to kind of get involved. And I very quickly afterwards was somehow persuaded, I think through lack of understanding as well, to become the president of the parents committee. They were like,
Quite a
great. She didn't understand what we just said.
yeah.
Let's just run. And so yeah, so I did a lot of that, and a lot of that helped because, to be honest, because we work with local farmers as
Hmm.
well as making our own.
Yeah.
We started actually making our own much later than we
Yeah.
worked with local farmers. So it was really important that we had these relationships.
Yeah.
And I think I wanted to tell you one thing because I think it's always one of these things, resilience is such an important word. I mean, I know it's often overused
Mm.
as well now, but it is really what I guess the beginning of our journey was all about. And I mean, all kudos to my husband because my husband's just one of these people who just, he doesn't take no for an answer and he will always give it one more go. And that is a really amazing, personality
Yeah.
trait actually, because I realize now so many moments where we could have just given up
Yeah.
and then he just did one more thing,
Yeah.
one picked up the phone. A good salesperson always picks up
Yeah.
the phone one more time, even when you've been told no so often. So we started literally, it was just sort of 15 no's and then the 16th, okay, I'll make some wine with you.
Wow.
And then even that sort of had some kind of comical moments. I mean, Stephen once had to actually physically run away from somebody because he said, like, I'm really sorry, I don't think your wine is good enough, I can't buy it. And then that person sort of, didn't quite pursue it with a pitchfork, but almost. So
Oh my
stuff
gosh.
like that happens too.
Oh
So
my God. Oh, yeah, it all happens in Provence. I think that's it. So, I mean, so yeah, you got there. Did you speak French before you went?
I spoke a little
A little
bit.
bit, fine. But yeah, like enough to get maybe a little bit by, but it's crazy, isn't it? Like, I imagine that's, I think, one of the things that probably puts people off the most is having to go somewhere and then having to like immerse yourself. And I think when you're learning a new language, it's like you can't get your personality across until you really can convey like
Yeah.
language and things. It's crazy.
No, that is true. I mean, but one of the things, that is quite interesting is that it also allows you to be completely free.
Yeah.
And that was a really nice thing for me in a way. I could kind of, I had a really nice sort of Southwest London life,
Yeah.
good friends, to all intents and
Mhm.
purposes, really, really nice existence. But it was quite fun to kind of go, okay,
Shed it.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a line under that.
Yeah.
I'm a new person
Yeah.
now
I'm
from
like reinventing
today.
myself and
So,
that's
I
it.
mean, nothing absolutely crazy happened, but it was quite. It was, I could kind of also just wear what I want, which was, you just
Yeah.
people just didn't really care who I was
Yeah.
or knew nothing about me. So it was quite a nice,
Freeing.
free
You
kind of
say.
experience.
God, that's just, I mean, it's so, so brave, isn't it? So, I mean, so you moved and now you're building Maison Mirabeau. Is that how I say it?
No, Mirabeau.
Mirabeau.
So
So
think about, yeah, bow. Yeah, like
Mirabeau.
bow.
Maison Mirabeau.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. There we go. Got to learn those French nuances, haven't you? Maison Mirabeau. So, founding the business with your husband, how do you then divide the roles and like keep it harmonious and actually start to build something? Because I work with my partner and it's
Too.
interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's always nice to hear from other couples that have founded a brand.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're still married. Is already the good news. Over 25 years. So I think that's a result.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's I mean the sort of what we do falls completely naturally because I am actually on the creative side
Yeah.
and relationship side. And sort of random idea side
Hmm.
basically. And Stephen is very much somebody he's great in sales, more commercial, I guess, much more of a numbers person.
Yeah.
And the wine we kind of divide.
Hmm.
Well, both of us do it. And then we've got a winemaker as well because it's one of those things you can't just kind of pretend that
Yeah.
you're now,
Yeah. A
a
winemaker.
great winemaker.
Yeah.
Then so and it's also quite good to keep you honest because, that's also the problem. Once you make your own wine, you kind of want to talk it nice because,
Mm.
it's yours, it's your
Yeah.
baby. So having somebody who will go, nah, that
Mm.
doesn't work is actually is a good
Yeah.
thing to have. So we've always had that right since the word go, people who really knew, what great looked like,
Yeah.
and kept us honest. So yeah, no, but it is an interesting one working with because we also have quite different opinions. So we do fight a lot, basically.
Creative, I guess. I suppose is building it.
Yeah, and people always go like, "Oh, it's so sweet, it's so cute." But the truth is that we're both quite opinionated.
Mhm.
I feel like in a perverse way that a better outcome happens at
Yeah.
the end of that process,
Mhm.
but it's not always easy. I mean, it can be and it can be quite difficult for people who don't know us or for people who are in the room
Mhm.
because we were quite we'll express ourselves and sometimes also be quite rough with each other. And that people find that kind of emotionally quite awkward, I think. So like
Yeah, and they're just like, okay, what's going on? But for you guys, it's completely normal. So
yeah, it's normal. And then also we kind of in the end, some we turn and twist things, and in the end, it actually doesn't lead to a compromise. It does seem to lead to something that's actually improved
Mm.
because I think we come at it from most of the time from such different directions.
Mm.
that we've sort of, looked at it from, almost in 360 by the end of
Yeah.
it. But it's not a super easy process, and we can't always leave everything at the door. People always.
But you can't when it's like it becomes so entwined in your lives, isn't it? And as people are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we don't speak about work between these hours," and it's like, it's our lives, and it's like your passion as well, I guess. So it's like it's difficult to do that.
Yeah,
I don't understand it when people
absolutely.
can do that.
We've never been able to do
No,
that even for a day.
no,
So.
I'm with you. I can't do that one. Um, so how did you go from like, because obviously you've evolved the brand now, right? So how did it?
Mm.
How do you start? So did you started with like one product, and then how many products do we have now? Do you have?
Oh my God, I've lost count. Almost.
Because I was
But
really
no, we've
struggling to figure it
definitely
out.
got. Yeah, no, we literally started with one product that was actually called Mirabeau, and then we faced fairly quickly. We wanted to make a second wine,
Mm-hmm.
basically. They're all rosé,
Yeah.
so they're just different, rosé with different characters
Mhm,
and different, a little bit from different origins, slightly different origins.
mhm.
But yeah, so we've got 8 appellation wines, so Provence,
Yeah.
Côte de Provence, and Côte d'Aix-en-Provence wines, and then we've got 3, sort of more entry level wines. We got gin.
Oh
We just
wow.
launched a
Oh
spritz.
my god.
So yeah, we're a bit mental like that, to be honest. And
That's incredible. I mean, yeah, if you're doing it and you're leaning in, then like, and you can try new things and you get to that point where it makes it more fun, right? And like keeps it fresh and creative. Like making a gin must be really fun. I'm a big gin fan, so I'm like,
oh, good,
yeah,
good. I'm glad
yeah.
because it's one of those things that went from sort of, oh my God, everyone's drinking gin to suddenly no one's drinking gin.
Yeah, it did have a
You
hype,
know,
didn't it? And then yeah, but oh my gosh, no, me and my best friend we are gin and tonic.
you're keeping us. You're
Yeah,
keeping us.
we love it.
Fantastic.
For as soon as we can find a gin distillery to go tasting, that's what we do. Like we literally love it. So it's really interesting. So what made you go into a gin? Is it just something that you wanted to do?
Yeah, and also because we're sort of in the botanical kind of nirvana of, you know, not quite of the world, but
Yeah.
almost, because we're near grass.
Yeah.
So we've got all these amazing sort of perfumery grade
Yeah.
plants growing around us. And so we just thought it would be a really nice, spirit expression
Yeah.
of our Provence journey. So we kind of did that. It's grape based.
Yeah.
Also, the alcohol comes from grape.
So
From
it's
grapes.
perfect.
So yeah, it makes it a bit smoother and a
Mhm.
bit softer. It's still London dry, so
Yeah.
it's got no sugar.
Yeah.
But it is just a really nice gin, basically,
Yeah.
and it's pink, of course.
Of course.
Um,
Like it has to
but I
be.
wanted not a silly gin. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted one, because all the pink gins, or a lot
Oh,
of pink gins, were sort of gross.
yeah.
And I thought that's not what we want. No, we are sophisticated drinkers. Hello. So yeah, I mean, and men like it.
Yeah.
So, it is a bit of a leap because, the a lot of the gins are, very male, very masculine
Yeah, they
and
are.
styling as well, and very, very heavy on juniper, which is quite a sort of,
Mhm.
I want to say quite a, herbaceous kind of medicinal kind of flavor
Yeah.
profile. And I wanted one that was a little bit not overly floral because I really didn't want a sort of, potpourri kind
Yeah.
of,
No, we don't drink perfume, do we? But like that's
but a nice kind of, a nice profile that would be fun
yeah.
to drink and would work with most tonics, which it
Yeah.
does, and it's just a nice.
And now a spritz as well.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's so fun.
yeah. So taking it to Aperol,
Yeah.
watch out.
Yeah. We're coming for your apple. Is it pink?
It is.
Is it? Perfect. Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is just, yeah, literally the dream, isn't it? So just like a stunning lineup there. Like I love that. Um, what was the moment then that you kind of like looked over at your husband and was like, actually, we've really built something special here? Like, was there a moment where you was like, this was worth it? This season is sponsored by Sephora, and their message is one that I absolutely love. We belong to something beautiful. Sephora is more than a store, it's a space where diversity, joy, and creativity come together. From the skincare aisle to the beauty hub, it's a celebration of everyone's most authentic selves. So whether you're shopping for your signature scent or trying out K beauty for the first time, Sephora is here to champion your beauty your way.
Yeah, no, we have these moments, definitely. We're not super, super, super good at kind of celebrating it.
So yeah.
And
That's
we
the
do tend to
bitterness.
look at the next peak,
Mhm.
which is, and we've had really great moments and really rough moments too. So, there's been everything. I mean, we almost burnt down 3 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
So it was, yeah, we had a mad like wildfire at our vineyard. And there's been sort of, there's
Yeah.
been just, it's been so kind of intense,
Yeah.
the whole journey, because you're working with nature, everything is so unpredictable.
Yeah.
So it is, you kind of, half the time you're just looking at each other a bit exhausted, going, phew, thank God we're still here. So, but it is, we definitely have those little moments where we go, well, who would have thunk, really,
Yeah.
to be honest?
It's incredible, yeah, and that's what I think is, like, it's so nice sometimes, like, I get it, like, not everyone is reflective and things, it's always like, "What's next?" and we're still pushing and growing, and it's like, not celebrating those wins, but, yeah, when those little moments creep in and you look around and you're just like, "Yeah, like, this must feel really good." Like, it's really nice to, yeah, hear those stories from people because, like, I think a lot of people, grind so much and put so much into it that, yeah, it is important to celebrate those little
Mm.
milestones, right?
Yeah,
Like, I think so.
absolutely.
Though, um, creativity meets wine then is something that I thought it would be nice because obviously with your background, it's like, visual storytelling. And am I right in saying that you were like interiors?
I had retrained
Yeah.
in interiors,
So I bet
and
that's
never
something
really
I was
took it up
like,
because literally, as I was gearing up to do a year's a proper sort of
yeah,
conversion,
yeah,
put it on a business card.
yeah,
I'd already done quite a lot, just sort of, under,
yeah.
my houses and
Mhm.
a bit of friends. But at that moment, Stephen said, "Okay, now we're moving."
Oh,
So it
God.
was sort of like, "Okay, all right. Well, I'll shelve my career then, shall I?"
No, I feel like you must have been able to take some of that and put it into the brand of the
A
wine.
Mirabeau, yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly what I
yeah.
did. So luckily, I'd sort of, I must say in the beginning, I was more of a sort of, helping hand for him. Because also it was quite intense with the kids,
Yeah, for sure. Three young
sort of,
children.
yeah, 3
Yeah.
young children, getting them into French school. So all of that was actually the early days.
Mhm.
I definitely wasn't a full
Yeah.
time kind of, Mirabeau worker. But then that's what I felt I could bring is
Mhm.
obviously the creativity and trying to make the brand stand out.
Yeah.
And then we got quite quickly into social media as well. So
Yeah.
that was the other thing that, we were thinking, what can we do? I
Yeah.
think I heard you talk as well on the last pod that, it is, we're also in this business of, yes, we're making wine. Well,
Mhm.
hey, wine's been around for 6,000 years, So what are you doing that's got such a USP?
Yeah.
I haven't invented a rocket ship, I'm afraid. So you have to kind of, you have to
Story,
kind of work
right?
with an existing product and then we did lots of things just a bit differently,
Mhm.
and some of that was communications, we really thought, I really want to speak to my consumer,
Yeah.
so we did loads of PR and then as soon as social media was available, we did that. I mean, terrible. I mean, you can still see some of the videos. I want to sort of die in shame, but
You know, it's
it's
all
all
part of the
just
story.
so hideous. So but we sort of, yeah, we grew up with it, right?
Yeah.
And it's obviously also something that, in wine
Mhm.
isn't really done. I mean, even marketing is a bit of a
Mhm.
dirty word
Mm.
in wine. So
Yeah.
so but we figured, wow, this is great. We're in Provence. We're in this amazing place that, everybody wants
Yeah.
to sort of at least spend some time in,
The
if
dream
not live
is to live
in.
in Provence. Yeah.
Yeah, then the wine has to sit really beautifully on this kind of on the shoulders of this amazing kind of region.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting what you said about, yeah, like I didn't really understand why more wines didn't do more of this storytelling and PR and, because a lot of them have these amazing stories and heritage and things like that. And it's just not known about. And so I think it's genius.
No, they just go, my wine is better than yours.
Yeah.
and
So,
and they all say the same thing.
yeah.
So my soil is unique in the world, which I mean everybody can say.
Yeah.
I mean it is really it's
Literally true.
true to some degree. I mean I now that I'm looking into, we're now farmers and we do regenerative farming.
Mhm.
So we actually get into this whole, what's the kind of actual footprint of your
Yeah.
soil, like the biological
Yeah.
footprint, which is quite unique.
Yeah.
But to the end consumer, it doesn't necessarily mean all that much. And also, it's just not enough,
Mm.
right? It's just not rich enough in
It's also
terms of
not like,
spirit.
it's not, I don't know, for want of a better word, it's not sexy, is it? Like talking about the mud. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, we don't want to be like, you
Micro.
yeah, it's like, I always think, yeah, and I feel like,
I
feel
get
like
quiet.
a
I get
consumer.
quiet.
Yeah. Nice,
Uh,
because that's when it's your interest and it's like you need to understand it, then I get it, but, like, I feel like for storytelling, it's more about that emotive feeling that having that wine with your friends or being on holiday and getting that crisp glass with the perfect ice cube, and it's just like, it's that, isn't it? And I think
yeah.
getting that across to people is, you know, really sets you guys apart in that way. So, when you see the lineup of rosés in like on that's available, you can be like, I know that one. I'm gonna take it. Like that familiarity, right? That were kind of the thing that you build.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. And then I want to build that strong association, to Provence because, even for people who haven't visited, it has certain connotations. You feel kind of, you feel relaxed, you take time, you eat and drink,
Yeah,
talk, you kind of, the sun kind of, kisses your nose.
yeah,
And it's just, you can really sense it, I feel. It's so rare. And wine regions, there's so few where you get an instant kind of image in your head, right? So Tuscany is one,
yeah, yeah,
just go like, oh yeah, I get it, the rolling hills
yeah,
and and it's like an imprint in your mind. And Provence, we've always felt was another,
yeah.
I mean, even though lots of people have visited Champagne, they don't get a sort of image of, yeah, maybe if you sort of fancy chateaus, but
Yeah,
you don't get the image of of the place
yeah,
like you do with Provence, whereas Provence for me was always like, even if people sometimes kind of go off into the lavender direction or something, but
yeah. Which is still
it's
lovely,
fun,
but
yeah. And it's just such an
it's
amazing
like a
place.
romantic movie, Provence, isn't it? I
Yeah.
think I spent quite a lot of time with friends, and, like, when you go to Champagne, like, around Epernay and all of that, it's
Yeah.
lovely, but I don't know, it just doesn't have that same charismatic energy as Provence. Like, when you go to Provence, like, you just wanna be there. Like, everything is beautiful, the light is beautiful, like, it's just yeah, and it's so in sync, like, I am that person, if I ask for a wine list 'cause I want a rosé and they haven't got one from Provence, I won't have one. It's awful, isn't
You're
it?
our discern
I just
customer.
literally, I will not entertain one from and then they because as soon as you do, you just massively regret it. Like, it's the only place to get rosé, in my opinion. Like, I think a lot of my friends and that would also agree. So, I mean, that's just, like, the perfect place for you to have gone, isn't it, really? But
Yeah.
amazing. So, I get carried away and I have to go back to my talking
Okay.
points because I want to make sure that I ask all of these things.
Bring me
So,
back.
I mean, yeah, because obviously we're talking about the creativity and stuff, and it's like the power of the packaging as well. So, like, making an iconic bottle. How did you go about selecting that? Because that for me is such a like big part of almost I want to say as important as the wine is
Yeah,
making sure it's
it is.
like
I mean, the pack is massive,
mm,
right?
mm,
You get so the most businesses it's the same, most of it's retail, right?
hmm
So you've got to expect, wine here is about 80% retail.
yeah.
So you've got to expect that somebody gets zero explanation with your product,
hmm
that they get very little time to look at it. And so you've got to try and make something that people can, that can read effectively,
Yeah.
almost I don't mean like, alphabetically read, but they
They
can
can
read
yeah.
your bottle
Mhm.
on the shelf. Why is it there? What's it
Yeah.
saying? Why should they buy it?
Mhm.
Because also, even though a lot of wine gets bought on offer and it's something that, we've got to deal with,
Yeah.
it is important that, you make something that's good enough so that the person actually then seeks it out again and
Yeah.
goes, actually, it's now costing 20% more because it's not on offer at the moment, but actually I
That's
like
one.
it so much. I want to buy it again. And that is more via the liquid. I always feel like you got to deliver on both. You've
Mhm.
got to deliver on the packaging
Yeah.
and the liquid and pure, which must be the one I hope that you're referring
Yeah.
to,
I am.
because it has a customized bottle, which is
hmm
so hugely expensive that it took us
That is beautiful.
many, many years until we were even able to afford to do it.
Oh wow.
And also it causes lots of logistical issues because of course you can't, if you're ever running short, with a normal bottle you can always oh, I'm going to Italy to get that.
Yeah.
Or, you can always find more somehow. Whereas once you've got this is your own, whatever you produce, you better match your bottles
Yeah.
to what you're making.
Right.
So it has, but on the other hand, I was so into doing it, and it was such a great process. It was so difficult. It looks so
Really?
effortless because it's basically based on the waves of the sea,
Mhm.
but in the sort of evening,
Yeah.
it's kind of soft, and when the sun looks like it's kind of just caressing the
Mhm.
waves. But getting that right, oh my God, I had some prototypes which were so horrible, including one that looked like spaghetti had been stuck on my bottle. I was like, what were you thinking?
Like,
So
no.
in the end, I found somebody actually in the UK to
Oh.
3D design it. It was that difficult. I couldn't even get it done in France.
Oh.
And a computer worked 24 hours to draw the final 3D image.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's insane.
That is incredible, but it pays off.
Yeah,
That's it. It's
it'd
perfect.
be quicker now. AI would do it much quicker.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the problem. But AI can't make wine, and it definitely can't drink it in front of the sun. So, like, I feel like that's one of those like things. Like, it's such a like long-standing process that just that can't be tampered with, can it, with AI? So, yeah, and I know we touched on your farm and like talking about sustainable and regenerative farming. That's something. So you've bought your own like farm now and domain and things like that. Is that right?
That's right,
Yeah.
yeah. So we had to, obviously, since we had unfortunately no parents gifting us one, or no
Buy your
family
own farm.
farm, Provence family farm in the family. So now, yeah, we actually had to work and then buy one, which is also super expensive, of course, as you know where we are, because we
Mhm.
are in one of the most expensive real estate, competitive kind of places on
Yeah.
earth. And so we then, in the end, after looking for so long, it was just an endless project because we also knew what we wanted and didn't want.
Mhm.
And then we'd almost given up. I'd almost gone like, ugh, this is just not going to happen
No.
for us. And then we suddenly just bling, it just appeared. So we were like,
Wow.
okay, we need money. Let's
Let's go.
let's go. And then we started farming it, which was, has been the beginning of like the most intense learning curve of
Mhm.
our life.
Yeah.
And yeah, has changed us completely as people, which is very
Wow.
interesting.
Oh my goodness. So, like, was it already like a vineyard when you bought it, or was it like just you've had to completely go for it and do it new?
No, it was a vineyard, but it
Okay.
was an inverted commas,
Yeah.
intensively farmed, a conventionally farmed vineyard.
Mhm.
Also, I want to say that the previous owner was not keen on any weeds or any plants other than the vines.
Okay.
So it was very kind of, it was still really beautiful, but once you looked under the cover kind of thing,
Mhm.
you realized it was not a well place.
Right. Fine.
And it was ironically placed in the middle of a nature reserve, one of the most biodiverse and amazing nature reserves in the whole of France. So yeah, so we sort of went, oh my God, look around us, look around you.
Yeah.
You see just nature just kind of with this amazing vigor and just expressing itself in a million different ways.
Oh.
And we had this farm where we were kind of like, reducing it all down to
Yeah.
the sort of least complicated way of doing it. And so we just completely started from scratch.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Like, and that's where the regenerative farming comes in and things like that. So, and does that obviously makes it more of a sustainable product as well, right? I guess in that sense, like making sure it's all like giving back and like, because you see a lot of people using like all sorts of different chemicals and different things like that. And is that something that you are like, yeah, like it's all regenerative? This ad is brought to you by our sponsor, Sephora, and honestly, they just get it. Sephora's mission is to help you celebrate your unique beauty with a curated mix of global brands, cult faves, and names like Merit and Tower 28. Their expert teams are on hand for everything from benefit brow shaping to signature makeovers, and you can redeem services against products too. I mean, iconic. Because beauty should feel like play, not pressure.
Yeah, so we use much less inputs
Mhm.
because regenerative farming is actually much, much, how can I say, much more wholesome
Yeah.
than organic.
Yeah.
So because organic, you're just trying to not do certain things. You still use,
Yeah.
a fair amount of chemicals anyway. They're just organic
Yeah.
chemicals. And as we all know, even organic things can be quite poisonous. So
Yeah.
people always think, oh, it's natural.
That's like
Well, you can also, do a lot of damage with natural products.
yeah.
And so regenerative goes beyond organic and basically has, looks to farm with nature.
Yeah.
So it sounds so banal, but that's really the sort of base concept is that you're farming for biodiversity, you're farming, for plant health. You're really sort of, just trying to do as much as you can that
Yeah.
your site is as healthy
Yeah.
as possible, and you're giving back, and you're letting other creatures live
Yeah.
alongside your kind of your cash crop, as
Yeah.
it were. And that is what we put in place at the domain. And it's not instant success. It has, it's got, as with all these things,
Yeah.
kind of,
Trial and error.
trial and error up and down, but we're seeing some really awesome results now.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That is, yeah, I'm just actually wowed by this whole adventure that is like is your life. Like it's actually incredible. Um, so I guess like your winemaking philosophy is something that's quite interesting to talk on. Like, how would you describe like your approach to winemaking? Because like, as we touched on it in terms of like, you just want it to be good and like to have that end thing, but is there anything that's deeper than that? Is there like anything, yeah, like what, how, yeah, what's the deeper level to it?
Well, starting at the shallow end,
Mhm.
and you'd quite like someone to have a second glass.
Yeah.
So I know these days this is very not PC to even express,
Mm.
but you definitely don't want somebody going, "Oh my God," because you can also, wine doesn't have to be bad for you to have enough after one
Mhm.
glass, if you see what I mean. Wine can
Mhm.
also be very rich
Yeah.
and, or can have certain characteristics where you'd
Mhm.
say, actually, one's enough.
Yeah.
So we like the wines to be kind of light, but have plenty
Mm.
of character
Mhm.
and aromatic expression. So it feels like a little bit of a sort of thing that is a bit contradictory,
Yeah.
but it works.
Yeah.
And that's what we're blending for, that you get something that you ultimately find super pleasant and
Yeah.
interesting, and you'd like to taste more of it, and it works so well with food. Um, but at the same time, you'd want to feel like, oh, this feels like I could just drink it
Yeah.
all day long.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's a really good sort of way to look at it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And so like, what makes a wine like really memorable for you? Like, what is it that makes it a super memorable experience? Is there anything that really stands out that when you're making a wine?
I think in terms of consuming it, I mean,
Mm.
the lovely thing about wine is, if you pay attention, that it's a lot like a perfume. You can go back to places
Yes.
and moments,
Mhm.
which is so amazing. I'm not sure I get the same from beer, if you see
No.
what I mean.
No, there's only certain beers that I would, and that's like a very specific hazy IPA that's brewed in Texas because it's the only place you can get it.
Yeah.
So, but that's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So,
So it's got
mhm.
it's sort of printed itself in your
But yeah,
memory
regular
structure.
beer, no.
And that's what I think is the kind of superpower of wine. Apart from the fact that, when you look at, how wine is made, when it's made well, it should sort of tick so many, especially of the younger generation's box. It's super interesting, potentially for the environment. You can grow, like we grow cover crops with alongside the vines.
Yeah.
We do lots of things that are, that should get people really kind of engaged in
Yeah.
the process. Something that, if you were making, I don't know, Bailey's Irish cream, I don't think you
It's
could
not
kind
gonna,
of,
yeah.
it's not never gonna do that. So it's low in sugar. It's I'm not gonna say it's a health food, but there's very little
Yeah.
stuff in wine. It's mostly
I
natural.
personally feel like wine is
So
good for my well-being, so it can be health food.
yeah, so
Yeah.
you have to, obviously, I mean, I also don't drink too much
Yeah.
because I can't, the next morning is not pleasant, right?
No.
So
Although there's something
um
to be said about drinking wine in Provence, you just don't get a hangover. I'm gonna put it
yeah.
out there.
I also feel like I get certain situations, like on a boat,
Yeah.
I never seem to get drunk. I cannot understand why.
I mean, I can kind of see that. But yeah, when I'm in France, there is no such thing as a hangover, and I think that's why I stockpile so many French wines at home because I'm like I'm trying to bring that experience back, but for some reason I don't know if it's just as soon as it crosses the channel,
It becomes
maybe
toxic.
literally I'm like no, I don't need this in my life. Um, so you've got a book as well, which
Yeah.
I know, which is it came out in May,
Yes, it did.
like.
So yeah, after many years also of talking about it on my part,
Mhm.
that was the thing that I wanted to make a sort of book that was effectively a slice of life of Provence.
Yeah.
So if you're here, and you want to just quickly dive back in, you kind of can. So, and hopefully it'll kind of, it'll pique people's interest to maybe come visit the region, cook something.
Yeah.
It's all very easy. It's all very simple because our food is really very simple. It's very
Mhm.
produce led,
Yeah.
right? So yeah. So I just wanted to sort of bottle that basically,
Yeah.
in a book, and that's what this book is all
Oh
about.
my God, that's
So.
amazing. And I think you told me there's recipes in there and things like that, isn't there? So I just think that's so lovely to be able to put it all together. And I mean, for you and for your children as well, like to have it like this is a slice of our life. Like it's so lovely to be able to
Yeah,
have
it's a
that.
really nice. I feel like it was a sort of coming of age thing
Yeah.
for me as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm old now. I'm over 50 already.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make something, like you said, something that lasted, something that was more my side of the business as well,
Yeah.
not, but the wine, is something so joint, whereas, that side, the food, the kind of,
Yeah.
the decoration, the sort of making a moment, hosting, that's much more me. So I really wanted
Yeah.
to birth that, and for what it'll do what it'll do.
Yeah.
But it is a really lovely gift, and I love, when people come to visit now, I kind of can hand them a book.
Good,
And
yeah. It is
like,
so lovely as well. And like, yeah, and completes that storytelling moment of like the brand as well. Because again, I know I said it, but I think that's what you do so well is that like that really I mean, I'm gripped anyway, because I just think like the whole I mean, how many people have you met that are like, I want to move from London to France? Like it is the dream. So it's like having that where people can dive in and have a slice of that is really it's a public service, really, isn't it? As well. I
good.
think that's it. Um, so life in Provence and the family balance then, because obviously, growing I know in the early days you said that you was more like, getting settled and things like that, but then you did get involved in the business and like things how did that sort of balance? How did you keep that balance? Because I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, isn't it?
Yeah, and I struggle with it too.
Mm,
I mean, my kids, uh, it's difficult to keep that balance.
mm,
I think because we worked from home a lot anyway, because kind of, that's kind of what you do when
yeah,
you're making wine. So we had obviously the upside that even though Stephen was traveling a lot at the same time, usually one of us was kind of
yeah,
around. But on the flip side, things happen in our life at all hours. Um, you can't predict when a client's gonna walk into, I've got a boutique as well.
yeah.
So, or quite often you get a call, journalist is coming tomorrow. Do you know
Oh,
what I mean? You
right,
just
okay.
have to you have to be very flexible, and my kids had to be really, really indulgent with us. And I sometimes do worry that they might turn around one day and go, "Thanks. That was a really chaotic childhood."
But what a fun one though, and I think, that can be said for any kid in any situation really, but like with things like that, but yeah, if you're there and you're there for them, then that's and also they're helping you're building like something quite incredible that they could maybe be a part of. That
Yeah, and we tried always to sort of, well, they know that we tried to find the time. And we're now, I mean, they're here now, so they've all come back to the UK.
Ah,
We're here more as well. So Stephen and
okay.
I have
So the kids are living
put
here
one foot
now?
back here.
So
So,
so
so,
okay. That's
so
you're splitting your time quite a lot there.
we're just started splitting our
Yeah.
time, because also it is so exciting to be here in market.
Mhm.
It's something that I haven't really experienced that much.
Okay.
And with the book coming out as well, I really wanted to kind of, spend time where the action is,
Yeah.
basically. Whereas, and we've got a really good setup in France now where, we've just got a great team, the production is, and then we'll kind of, the key moments we'll spend over there, but we'll give ourselves a bit of time with our family
Oh, that's
here,
lovely.
so, and that's been a massive game changer for us
Yeah.
because we always like we felt in a little bit we couldn't leave, or we couldn't split the time because it was more it wasn't real. It was
Yeah.
more a sort of feeling that was sort of anchoring us down there.
Yeah.
But we, in retrospect, what's been really nice is we've just said, we need to find that balance. Actually, we need to be here more for the
Yeah.
children, and even though they're, my youngest one is 17 and he's gonna finish school next year,
Yeah.
they're to all intents and purposes they're adults.
Yeah.
But we have honestly, I mean, I can't tell you how nice it is to have adult kids. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really amazing. You just have such a nice time, and we can go and see stuff together, and
Yeah.
go out, have a drink.
Yeah.
It's kind of just it's the best of times, really.
Oh, that is, yeah. I think when kids get older and you can have that nice relationship with your parents, it does change. It's like
Yeah.
I think what I personally think as well. I mean, I don't know if it translates, but I don't live near my parents. My parents live a couple of hours away. So when I do see them now, and I split that time. I have such quality time with them, and I really enjoy it. Whereas like when you're so like there all the time together, you're spending time, but you don't really. I didn't appreciate it as much
Mm.
until now. And don't get me wrong, I see them like literally a couple of times a month, but it's. I feel like I really spend that quality time now. And I don't know if that translates for the people as well, but for me, it really does. Like,
Yeah, no, I think that, I think you can definitely be too close.
mm,
I mean, mine, because of how my kids have grown up, kind of almost, I want to say, I mean, we grew up with the most unbelievable amount of freedom. I
mm.
mean, something that I couldn't even, like I look at my parents and I go, were you actually nuts? I mean, my parents would literally just kicked us out in the morning and said, come home in the evening when you're hungry, kind of thing.
Oh my gosh.
And bought us kind of dirt bikes and, just
It's like,
crazy stuff.
where did
I'm
you
like,
grow up?
I g well, I grew up in Germany, but we did have that place in France,
Yeah.
and I mean, I don't know, my parents just they had no appreciation of risk. I mean, we were, like, hanging off flagpoles on boats and, I mean,
Yeah.
stuff where I'm just going like, "It's a miracle I'm alive, actually." But yeah, so we were obviously, by that standard, we were helicopter parents
The
probably, but we were, by modern standards,
mhm.
very hands-off parents,
Yeah.
and we're but our lifestyle in France also allowed us to be like that,
Yeah.
and the kids were, very free and
Yeah.
could walk around the village, and they knew everybody, and they would in France, it was so nice. I
Yeah.
think that's been lost a bit here is
Absolutely
everybody
been
talks
lost
to
here.
kids. So they just go like, "Who are you? What are you doing here? What why?" But in a nice way,
Yeah.
and they play pétanque with, the old boys of the village, and
God,
there's
that's
just that sort of,
brilliant.
that was such a nice
Yeah.
experience because, I wasn't sure where we were, at least you didn't find that kids were just ferry around in cars, and there wasn't that sort of
There wasn't that, like,
community.
wholesome outside spirit and that connection that you get, right? I feel like, yeah, kids growing up here especially can be quite insular, like, and
Yeah.
they don't go out, they don't experience that. So, yeah, I'm all for it. I think it's perfect. So, um, I have a few quick fire
Oh God, I'm
questions.
terrible with those.
No, they're fun.
I
I
could,
promise. There's nothing crazy. And actually one of them is quite apt because you were telling me about you almost burnt down like a few years ago. Do you remember? Like what you said. But for the first one is like one wine you'd save from a burning cellar.
oh my God, yeah, no, I've had that before actually from decanter. I think I was like, I'm sorry, my cellar was actually burning.
Yeah,
But
that's
well, listen, I would probably actually save that one, our first regenerative wine. I know that sounds really naff, saving your own, but it was such an amazing achievement for us to have that first vintage of a regeneratively farmed
yeah,
wine, which was amazing. And then I'd always save a really good bottle of champagne
yeah.
because
You always need one of those.
on a desert island or something, it will also be quite apt.
You always
So.
need one of those. Most unexpected moment in your wine journey so far?
Oh, well, the one when I saw the flames around my house. No, that was
Is that me?
also quite unexpected. What did we have? Well, I mean, oof, this is a difficult one. We had so many sort of so many chaotic moments. We had our very first, this was unexpected in all the wrong ways. We had our first capsules turn up the wrong color, like completely the wrong color.
Oh.
So then we had to basically say, sorry, waitress, you have to wait another 2 months. So that was
Oh God.
that was not a good moment. So
Why did that? So what? They were completely the wrong color, or
they had just switched them, and so it was not a good alternative, basically.
oh
But
no.
you know, very early days. So
Oh, that's so frustrating, isn't it? Oh my gosh. I can probably guess this by the other two that you're making now, but your go-to drink when you're not drinking a rosé.
oh, I love it. Well, obviously a
Yeah, gin with
G&T,
spirits.
but I also love a Paloma.
Oh.
That would be really nice.
Yeah.
I love a good beer. I mean, I'm
Mm.
German, so I
Yeah.
do really like beer. So, you know, sort of when you're really thirsty and hot, it's very nice. And then I quite like, you know, it's coming back into fashion now, so I'm feeling very fashionable. I like a chilled red wine, actually.
Oh, they really are coming back, aren't they? Like a chilled red wine is actually
Yeah.
it's a move. Like
Yeah.
it's a real vibe. Like I'm with you on that, especially in the summer. Like because sometimes, yeah, in the evening you just want a red, but sometimes it's a bit too warm and
Yes, and just a nice sort of Beaujolais village or something is so good.
yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. That's yeah, a really good one. And then dream guest to share a bottle of wine with.
Um, yeah. Alive?
Anything, it could be any.
Oh, you. I'll share one with you.
Oh, anytime. Perfect. I feel like we should have. It is, an afternoon. We should have had a bottle though.
Oh, no. I was saying Michelle Obama. This is very lofty, but
Oh no,
she's such an amazing.
I read her book last summer.
Yeah.
And like,
I read it when it came out, and I just thought, oh my God, I just wish you were running the world.
yeah, yeah. I think you and a lot of people think the same thing. So, because yeah, there's a whole lot of over there, isn't it? But yeah. And then I guess just to finish on, like, what do you want people to feel when they drink a glass of Mirabeau?
I just want them to feel carefree and free.
Yeah.
This is the thing. For me, it's all about freedom.
Yeah.
It's about being free to be who you want to be and enjoy the moment and not worry for a moment. You know, that's what it's all about for me.
Well, that sounds perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Thank you.
Honestly,
So nice.
your story is so inspiring. Like it really is, and like just listening to you and like I really want to read your book and have a slice of Provence. Perfect. But anyway.
Good. Well, I brought you wine, so
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
While I have you, it would really help me out if you could just hit follow or subscribe, depending on which platform you're getting your podcast from, and I can keep bringing you these amazing conversations with these incredible guests. And yeah, I will see you next week on the Silly Little Girls Club.